Yo, guys, so we were talking the other day about Israel and Lebanon establishing that ceasefire, right? And we were talking about that blanket, that wet blanket being thrown all over the fire, the raging fire that is the tensions in the Middle East, right? And that's awesome. That's great. But what I didn't realize at the time was apparently Lebanon's been severely damaged by the ongoing conflict. And I also didn't quite realize how long it'd been brewing and fomenting on the border of Lebanon. Apparently they're destroyed right now, like in rubble. Like the amount of damage to infrastructure that needs to be repaired in southern Lebanon is through the roof. It's insane. Let's go ahead and read, guys. Battered by war and divisions, Lebanon faces a long list of challenges after the ceasefire deal. There's relief over a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah, but Lebanese are now facing the realization of the challenges that lie ahead. Hours after the U.S. brokered ceasefire to end the war between Israel and Hezbollah went into effect, Lebanon woke up to the sound of celebratory gunfire instead of Israeli airstrikes and drones buzzing overhead. Dude, it goes to show you the psychological impact of Israel's war strategy. And I've been wondering this entire time, like why are they doing this? Why aren't they doing surgical strikes with the U.S. to save infrastructure? But what just dawned on me from reading this, there could be a level of psychological impact here, especially because they're dealing with terrorist organizations that are hiding behind civilian populations. The goal might be to put a wedge between the civilian population and the terrorist organization that is kind of like consuming them, right? And feeding them with propaganda to garner support and get members from them, right? And so maybe the idea is to demonstrate how much of a vulnerability in being involved with these kind of organizations are. I could see there being a psychological effect there to this whole strategy of carpet bombing from behind the Iron Dome before they even invade, right? Because they also invaded southern Lebanon, right? But the realization of what lies ahead quickly sank in. Town after town in the south and east, as well as parts of Beirut, have been destroyed. Entire border villages have been leveled to the ground and thousands of buildings damaged. The World Bank estimates losses amounting to some $8.5 billion. That's absolute destruction. There's not much left, bro. There's some of the pics. I kind of put them in the thumbnail. You can see people are walking around living in rubble. It's insane out there right now, dude. And it really goes to show the amount of collateral damage that comes with the type of war strategy that Israel uses. And that is why I was super and am super in favor of using more tactical surgical strikes, right? Because you save the infrastructure, you save the civilian population, but what I wasn't thinking about was that psychological impact and the idea of, I think what they might be going for with this is scaring the civilian population away from supporting these organizations. And that honestly could be very effective as a strategy. So I can see them doing that. I can see that being the angle that they're trying to take with this kind of thing. For the tiny and broken Mediterranean country, which has dealt with a compounded calamities over half a decade, the ceasefire deal has brought more questions than answers. Among them, who will foot the bill for rebuilding? Will Hezbollah fully remove its fighters and arsenals from the south, relocating to the north of the Litani River? And how will the Lebanese army ensure that it does so? Right, exactly what we were talking about, right? And I remember them saying this. The Lebanon as a country was starting to be like, yo, Hezbollah, what are you doing, man? Like, because the Hezbollah started this with Israel. Hezbollah, because Israel was bombing Gaza and was bombing Hamas, Hezbollah in solidarity started making things difficult for Israel at the same time as the Houthis in that strait, where they're bombing all the shipping vessels, right? And so, in a lot of ways, Israel was responding to Hezbollah, just like it was responding to Hamas, but the Hamas situation's a lot sketchier because it was Israel's 9/11 basically in a lot of ways. But yeah, man, no, Hezbollah really put their country in danger and really sacrificed a lot of civilian lives with the moves that they made. Not that Israel isn't responsible for their choice, but when you put the psychological aspect of war in context, right? And then when you put the fact that Israel as a state is surrounded by its enemies, kind of a lot like how the US wants to position Russia, right? Like literally Israel is in a position with all of these terrorist organizations that the US wants Russia to be in with NATO countries, right? And so I can understand kind of going all out in that psychological aspect of things. Don't they? They have that one, I forget what it's called, man, but they have that one directive where if they're worried about getting overrun by terrorist forces, it's no holds barred. They just hold down the trigger until everything stops moving. They don't care whether it's Israeli civilians or Muslim civilians or people in the enemy invading force. Apparently, from what I've heard, but yeah, so it's really interesting. I can understand why they feel intimidated and backed into a corner, and in a lot of ways, they're acting like an intimidated animal that is backed into a corner and is kind of fighting for its last breath, maybe, right? And will Israel ultimately accept the militants being pushed back, battered, but not destroyed? Interesting, right? Because Israel does not seem to be like the type of a country or nation right now to accept that. They're going all out on Gaza. They're not done till not only are all the hostages saved, but they're also going all out until everyone in Hamas is destroyed. Are they going to take that same approach to Hezbollah? That's a good question. Meanwhile, Lebanon's political paralysis between groups allied and opposed to Hezbollah has only worsened during the war, of course, raising the possibility of instability that could rattle the ceasefire. Anger has grown among some over that they see the Iran-backed group's decision to provoke another disastrous war with Israel. Right, because the civilian population has got to feel like Hezbollah is a major vulnerability to regional stability, right? Because Lebanon is a sovereign nation, and Israel was leaving Lebanon alone until Hezbollah started making their moves, and then all of a sudden Israel is like, whoa, we need Lebanon under our wing, we need to protect Lebanon from these terrorist organizations, we need to this, that, and the third, because and what Israel's referring to when they talk about that stuff is how these organizations entrench themselves in the cultural zeitgeist of the area that they exist in, right? And that's what Israel is attempting to protect. Israel does not see these people as freedom fighters. These people do a really great job of marketing themselves as freedom fighters to their local community. And so Israel sees themselves as protecting the region from that influence, right? Who's right? Who's wrong? Not my place to say. That's not my fight. That's not my business. I'm not trying to make that determination. It's just crazy the amount of damage that's being done. And that's why I personally would have preferred, hey, you got support from the US. Let's do something. Let's work in a way where less lives are being lost. Let's like the US has done this before. Not only that, the US has also taken Israel's approach before. After 9/11, we've definitely carpet bombed countries before. We are not, dude, we've sicked hurricanes on countries before. If y'all want to look up back in the 60s with the bro, but the U.S. gets crazy, dog. I'm not even trying to say that Israel's worse than the U.S. on the geopolitical stage at all. It's just it would have been nice to save some lives and still accomplish the goal. That's all I'm saying. Temporary calm or a step towards long-term security. During the 60-day first phase of the ceasefire deal, based on Security Council Resolution 1701, Hezbollah and Israel forces are to withdraw from southern Lebanon, and the Lebanese military is to step in, which has already started. Lebanese troops are to ensure that Hezbollah dismantles its facilities and military positions and that it doesn't try to rebuild. Right, but that in of itself, with the growing tensions between pro and anti-Hezbollah forces in Lebanon, that in of itself could foment into something. That's a major point of tension. Oh, just said it. Potentially putting the army in a dangerous confrontation with a more powerful militant group. Right. Hezbollah more powerful than the Lebanese army. That's not good, bro. It's not good to have private military organizations. What foreign actors are involved with funding Hezbollah? Iran, right? That's the major player in that region from what we understand. So we've got Iran funding Hezbollah. Hezbollah has grown larger than the Lebanese military. Man, it's a dangerous situation, especially when you've got the culture divided. If the culture wasn't divided and was fully behind the Lebanese military, that would be one thing, because then Hezbollah is surrounded on all sides, right? So even if they're militarily superior to a degree, that intersects with how little support they have from the community. But when it's 50-50 who supports them and who doesn't, this is dangerous, and Lebanon is going to have to rely on pressure from the international community supporting this move in order for this to really die down. The army, that's a major right. The army, largely funded by the United States and other Western governments, is a rare point of unity in Lebanon's tense, sectarian, power balancing political system. But it's always tried to avoid friction with Hezbollah, which is backed by a large constituency among Lebanon's Shiite Muslims. Because the U.S. does not want. We don't want to put ourselves in a position where we're another polarizing force, where now whatever move we make in Lebanon amps up the tensions between these groups that are already fighting, especially when tensions are brewing and fomenting, and you've got a destabilization system occurring in the culture of a region. If you step in as a foreign power to start trying to set things straight, you could end up making things worse. You could also end up making yourself a target. And when you become a target, anyone that has historically associated with you and been on your side can become a target as well, which could be a complete backfire from what the U.S. is looking to happen with Lebanon. Because I guarantee the U.S. is looking for less power for Hezbollah and for the Lebanese military to regain some level of control over the region. Hassan Fadlallah, a Hezbollah lawmaker, told reporters Thursday that the group will cooperate with the army to implement the ceasefire, but he also said that the military doesn't have the capability to defend Lebanon against Israel, a role Hezbollah has long claimed. He said the group would continue in that role. Can anyone say if Israel attacks, we watch? Fadlallah said. When Israel attacks our country, we will fight and resist. This is all right. Yeah, but y'all were in solidarity with... Y'all were inside. Everyone plays these manipulation games, bro. Hezbollah jumped in solidarity with Hamas, okay? And for them to pretend like just because Israel responds, like all of a sudden they're defending their country, dog, you are the one that put your country in danger. You are the one that put your country in that position. You, dude, and if I'm in Lebanon, if I'm a Lebanese civilian and I don't see them taking responsibility for that and saying, yo, lessons learned tactically at least, then dude, I'm trusting you way less, and I'm wanting you gone as some sort of major player, because dude, military isn't everything. There's policy, there's trade, there's diplomacy, and dude, military is not everything, especially with these small countries, especially when you've got Israel backed by such major players. Dude, Mike Azar, a Lebanese commentator, said the army is in an impossible situation. To suggest that it can disarm or dismantle Hezbollah's infrastructure is frankly absurd, he said online in a post. A Lebanese military official told the Associated Press troops deployment will be gradual into areas of the south, including those from which Israel troops withdraw. The official spoke on condition of anonymity because of not being cleared to speak with the media. Okay, anonymous source. Okay. Well, I mean, he's just kind of stating the obvious, right? The U.S. and France will also be involved in a monitoring mechanism to make sure that Resolution 1701 is implemented. Right, you've got to have an international body when you've got disparate forces here that are so equal or close in terms of their capability, and especially when you have the official government that is trying to maintain regional stability at a deficit or at a handicap compared to the forces they're dealing with. You need some level of international support. Otherwise, I mean, what's to stop Hezbollah from being like, you know what? Nah. Its viability is really being put to the test. If there's really going to be that commitment by all sides, said Salman Sheikh, who served as political advisor to the UN Special Envoy for Lebanon during the 2006 war when the resolution was passed. He now runs the Sheikh Group, a mediation and conflict resolution organization. Okay, so he's definitely the type of dude to know. Critics of the deal fear the pressure is far greater on Lebanon, and Israel has more space to attack Hezbollah, which it has vowed to do if it believes Hezbollah is not abiding by its terms. With the U.S. support, Israel has given itself almost total freedom to determine when it needs or wants to attack Lebanon again for whatever reason. Matt Duss, executive vice president of the Center for International Policy, a Washington think tank, said. I mean, look, Israel feels like they're backed into a corner. We were just talking about that a second ago. Clearly, when you're dealing with an animal that feels like it's backed into a corner, it's going to be acting in this type of way. And when I frame Israel's decision-making from this standpoint, the political instability going on with Netanyahu right now in Israel, the hard stance, everything going on starts to make a lot more sense. And so, yeah, man, it's not surprising. Is it right? Well, dude, things are so tense right now. Why don't we worry about asking about that question, whether it's right or wrong, when we get people to stop killing each other, okay? Right now, we need people to calm the F down, okay? And if we sit here and start yelling at people about you're a war criminal, you need to go to jail, it's this, that, and the third, how is Netanyahu going to maintain power? We've got Zelensky now, who then ran his emergency powers out and said we're still not having an election until next year, right? Do we really want to continue to put leaders of these smaller countries like this in a position where they are completely eroding their constituent civil liberties, okay? We need to make Israel feel comfortable enough to calm the F down. That's step one. Afterwards, we need to ensure that countries do not engage in the type of violence that has the level of collateral damage that Israel has engaged in into the future. Now, each of those are a separate step. How that second step looks, I'm not sure. Cash-strapped Lebanon needs support for its military and battered country. Lebanon, since late 2019, has been mired in crippling financial crisis that pushed millions into poverty, destroyed its banking system, and limited the country to just a few hours of state electricity daily. The Lebanese military has suffered as well, with troops quitting or working second jobs to pay the bills. Yet the aim of agreement is for Lebanon to recruit more and deploy more additional 10,000 troops to the Litani River. Without significant funding, this would be impossible, especially with the huge rebuilding costs Lebanon now faces. Yeah, they're done. This is over. This is a failed state now. No, we've seen this before. We've seen this pattern before. Like this, unless people step in, this is a failed state. And Hezbollah will take advantage of the power vacuum that comes. And then it's literally just Israel-Hamas 2.0. So something needs to be done now. The international community needs to step in now. Otherwise, regional stability over the next decade, in my opinion, is going to be at risk. Seriously, man. And we already know how psychotic Israel can get when they feel like they're backed into a corner, dog. The international community, in a donor conference in Paris last month, pledged $1 billion for Lebanon, including $800 million for humanitarian assistance and $200 million to support the army. But AIDS groups say none of that funding has materialized yet, and it's barely a fraction of what they need, dude. But I guarantee you that $8.5 billion is a low ball. Dude, I have never seen a government-funded construction job that ended up coming under or at what it was estimated to cost. So I guarantee you that $8.5 billion is more like $12 to $14 billion. Mercy Corps says that Lebanon's gross domestic product shrunk by 6.4%. Some $1.5 billion in just the past 2 months of war, just the last 2 months of war. The organization is scrambling to secure houses and services for displaced people ahead of the winter. Dude, this is failed state stuff, bro. This is failed state stuff. It happened in a different way with Libya. It was a little more drawn out. They didn't have the economic collapse first, and they were involved with the U.S. They actually had a little bit of a boom with Gaddafi. But we've seen a similar pattern with Libya, albeit oriented differently and a little more intense. This is failed state stuff, bro. This is the stuff that makes failed states. If we don't have somebody step in now, this is the stuff that makes failed states. The worst civilian impacts could still be ahead, Laila Al-Amin, Mercy Corps Lebanon County Director, said in a statement. A looming question of who will foot the bill. Iran has offered to help, but it's cash-strapped under Western sanctions. Oil-rich Gulf Arab states who helped rebuild after the 2006 war are wary of Lebanon's political class and not inclined to step in. Wow. Because also, I'm wondering if that's because of how friendly Lebanon is with the U.S. Because you've got those Arab countries aligning with BRICS, right? Now they're not totally unaligned with the U.S., but they maintain trade relationships with the U.S. with a major side eye at us. Like they make it clear they don't like us, they don't F with us, but they're willing to trade as long as there's something in it for them. And you know, they're supporting BRICS. They just did the pilot program for the M-Bridge, you know, that's going to be bridges, you know, country to country, new blockchain transaction system. So I can understand how they're like, if Lebanon is close, it has closer ties to the U.S. than a lot of these countries, especially a lot of countries that are in a insecure financial situation will have close ties with the U.S. because U.S. and China do a lot in terms of foreign aid and throwing money around. So I can understand how, you know, these people, the Gulf Arab states would be sketched out with Lebanon if Lebanon is real close to the U.S., which then it kind of like conflicts with some of their national interests moving into the future with the economy that they're looking to build and bypass U.S. sanctions in the future, right? They might look at Lebanon and feel like, yo, any money we spend on you is money that's going to be used to improve or build soft power for the very people that we're trying to subvert, right? Not that I agree with them. I don't want BRICS to succeed, dog. I would much rather have a major prosperity in the U.S. where not only do we have, not only are the world reserve currency because of the stability of our dollar, but we are also the major petrodollar player. But that, we can only really get back to that when we open up our own pipelines and we stop sanctioning everybody and their mother, because when we sanction people around the world, we actually devalue our dollar by de-incentivizing people to use our dollar. But that's a whole nother story, man. Even before the war, Hezbollah and its arsenal were at a point of contention in Lebanon. Its allies say Hezbollah's militants are crucial in protecting Lebanon, while critics say its weaponry violates state sovereignty and is used to pressure political opponents. They have long demanded Hezbollah be disarmed. I don't like that. Maybe I just look. It depends. I'm sure Hezbollah is way armed. I'm sure Hezbollah is like rocket launchers and drones and missiles and so I get it. Yeah, I understand. You know, what if there was a system where they could integrate? No, Hezbollah is too ideologically driven. You can't integrate Hezbollah into the Lebanese military and expect that to end up well, dude. It will end up being Hezbollah. Okay, all right, never mind. I don't have any answers for these people, man. Senior parliamentarian Alain Aoun said Lebanon has a long list of urgent matters to address, including electing a president after 2 years of a vacuum, securing reconstruction funding, and resolving a host of neglected economic issues. This is failed state stuff, bro. Lebanon is done. Dude, I swear, bro, like 99% chance in my mind, Lebanon is going the way of Libya, bro. Lebanon, Libya is how I'm thinking about it right now. There are a number of challenges awaiting us, Aoun told the AP. Hezbollah's opponents were also angered over its decision to unilaterally start firing rockets into northern Israel on October 8, 2023. The group said it was acting in solidarity with its ally Hamas in the Gaza Strip and vowed not to stop until a ceasefire was reached. Bro, you ain't even give them 48 hours. Dude, Israel and Hamas had just attacked Israel. Yeah, Israel knew about it in advance. Yeah, it was Israel's 9/11. Yeah, Israel let it happen because they're tired of Hamas and they want to sell Gaza and they want to make money off of it. Yeah, but dog, you had Hamas enter and attack Israel. Israel just starting its response to Hamas. And now you're going to jump in and put your whole country at risk by just bombing Israel? Dude, what are you out of your mind? These people can't be trusted with power in that area. Dude, what is going on? That was the absolute worst time in your country's development to do that. You guys were already on the verge of collapse and you did that shit, dude? Out of your mind, bro. You were out of your mind. I don't know what you were thinking, dog. No one, dude. Dude, critics say that it dragged Lebanon into war and brought Israel's destructive bombardment. That's exactly what it did. That's like what Iran is offering cash. Okay, here's the interesting aspect that's dawning on me right now. Iran funds Hezbollah, right? You've got Lebanon in a really severely weakened state. Lebanon potentially with closer ties to the U.S. In that weakened state, did Iran promote the idea of Hezbollah doing this so that problem, reaction, solution, this happens in Lebanon, Iran steps in, and now they gain more influence and they're able to assist Hezbollah in further infiltration of the Lebanese government? I'm wondering if that's a play too. There's a lot of stuff that could be going on right now. Why? Because people don't make decisions that don't make sense. When you see something that doesn't make sense like that, when you see something perfectly aligned like that for worst case scenario, somebody had to want it somewhere. Even some of its allies expressed frustration. Lawmaker Gibran Basil, who heads a party that for years was Hezbollah's main Christian ally in government, said in a video posted on X that Hezbollah should be at the service of the state and not the other way around. Very interesting. Bro, they got a nuanced, you got Christians in support of what we're told in the U.S. is a radical Muslim extremist group. And now, not only do they support them, but they're now calling them out, saying they should be at the service of the state, not the other way around. There's a real nuanced relationship between the civilian population, Hezbollah, the government, and how that relates to the culture out there that we do not get because, wow, that's a very interesting statement from this perspective, right? Hezbollah's top ally, Parliament Speaker Nabi Berri, who spearheaded negotiation efforts, has long pushed for Hezbollah to decouple its campaign against Israel from the war on Gaza. Yeah, duh. Dude, what are you doing to your country? Now he's calling for Parliament to vote for a president in January in order to ease Hezbollah's political gridlock, a move that could put Hezbollah's political power to the test or further entrench Hezbollah. See, that absolutely right. You got to do it. You got to do it because you can't leave the power vacuum, and you've got to do it now when eyes are on you, right? Because if you let that power vacuum sit until everybody looks away and the news cycle is bored, it could be dangerous for all the foreign powers that have a vested interest in what's going on with Lebanon, and that could make it dangerous for the Lebanese people. So definitely, man, get somebody in there, but be aware that this is now Iran and Hezbollah's time to shine. If they step in right now, this could be their major move to gain power and leverage in institutions of government more than they already have in the region, right? So we got to be aware of all of those things going on. This is where international funding and political support would be crucial, said Syke. Like he's already aware of this. Like he's already aware. The international community, he said, needs to help the Lebanese sort out these issues which persist and which are not exclusively just to do with Israel actions against them. Absolutely, right? Because you've got other players, you've got Hezbollah's relationships, what motivated them, what's going on here. So anyway, yeah, super interesting. Good opportunity to talk about the nuances of the tensions in the region. This was super fun. I appreciate you guys. Crazy, man. Lebanon is destroyed. Dude, chances are Lebanon is a failed state now. I'm telling you, in my opinion, unless now this is the variable that could save it. International community comes in, steps in, and really works like the US and others have worked to help Lebanon rebuild. If that's the case, no power vacuum, things can continue, right? Dude, if that's not the case, bro, Lebanon is Libya now. Failed state material, dog. Like, dude, this shit's getting crazy. Anyway, y'all. Hey, I forgot again. Always forget. But hey, I got graphics in here now. So, hey, please like and subscribe and then tap that notification bell, right? So that way you can see my videos. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, guys. And I will see you guys on the next video.